Imagine discovering that everything you believed about humanity's place in the universe was wrong. Not because humans were insignificant, but because they were too significant, so terrifyingly capable that entire galactic civilizations had spent centuries ensuring Earth remained isolated, quarantined like a dangerous weapon that must never be unleashed. What happens when that quarantine fails? When desperate alien civilizations, facing extinction from an unstoppable force, break the oldest law in the galaxy and send a distress signal toward the forbidden blue world. When humanity, those legendary Deathworlders from the nightmarish planet of fire, ice, poison air, and crushing gravity, finally receives an invitation to join the cosmic community. The galaxy is about to learn why some doors should never be opened, and why the most dangerous species in the universe might just be the one willing to die for complete strangers. This is the story of humanity's first contact, not as Earth had imagined it, but as the galaxy had feared it. The emergency session of the Galactic Preservation Council convened in the deepest chamber of Station Nexus, a place where light itself seemed afraid to venture too boldly. Around the circular amphitheater, representatives from 47 species sat in various states of agitation, their biological forms creating a museum of evolution's strangest experiments. The air recyclers worked overtime to accommodate oxygen breathers, methane processors, and those who survived on electromagnetic radiation alone. Council Speaker Vexhai of the Crystalline Collective raised her prismatic appendage, and the chamber fell silent. Her voice resonated through multiple frequency ranges, automatically translated by the universal communicators, each being war. Members of the Council, we gather in emergency session to address the unthinkable. The Kethvar hegemony has violated the Prime Isolation Protocol. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Some beings physically recoiled, while others began rapid communications with their home governments. The tentacled ambassador from the reef systems actually fainted, requiring immediate medical attention. Impossible, declared General Thokmore of the warrior caste. His massive frame, evolved for the high-gravity world of Kraxis, dominated his speaking platform. No species would dare breach the Terra quarantine. The penalties are absolute extinction. Vexhai's crystalline form shifted colors from calm blue to warning amber. The penalties assume the violating species survives long enough to face judgment. The Kethvar sent the signal, knowing full well they would not live to see the consequences. On the central holographic display, a star map appeared showing the Outer Rim territories. A pulsing red indicated the Kethvar home system, while an ominous black shadow crept across neighboring star systems like a spreading plague. The Void Swarm has consumed 17 systems in the past solar cycle. Vexhai continued. Kethvar Prime falls within the next rotation period. Faced with absolute extinction, they chose to commit the ultimate heresy. They sent a distress signal toward the Sol system. The chamber erupted in chaos. Beings began speaking in their native tongues, translation systems struggling to keep up with the rapid-fire conversations. Some called for immediate military action against the Kethvar survivors. Others demanded the activation of every defensive system the galaxy possessed. Order. Vexhai's voice cut through the din like a plasma blade. The deed is done. Our long-range sensors confirm the signal has reached Earth. Worse, we have detected response transmissions originating from the human homeworld. Dr. Meshera of the Science Directorate, her gossamer wings trembling with fear, managed to speak. Perhaps they did not understand the signal. Humans are primitive, yes? They might have dismissed it as natural phenomena or background radiation. The hope in her voice made the silence that followed even more devastating. Negative, reported Intelligence Coordinator Zefek, his cybernetic implants glowing as he accessed real-time data streams. Human deep space monitoring stations detected the signal within minutes of transmission. Their response indicates not only did they decode the mathematical foundations, but they understood the linguistic matrix. They know it was a call for help. The weight of those words settled over the chamber like a death shroud. For over 300 standard years, the Galactic Preservation Council had maintained humanity's ignorance of the greater galaxy through careful manipulation of their detection systems, strategic asteroid placements to block certain viewing angles, and the constant jamming of any signals that might reach Earth. The quarantine protocol had been established after humanity's first tentative steps into space revealed the terrifying truth about their nature. While other species had evolved on worlds with manageable gravity, breathable atmospheres, and stable climates, humans had somehow thrived on a planet that would kill most galactic citizens within minutes of exposure. Earth's gravity was nearly triple that of the galactic standard. Its atmosphere contained a corrosive gas that most species used as an industrial solvent. The planet's surface temperature fluctuations ranged from levels that would freeze nitrogen to heats that melted metals. And the humans who called this nightmare world home had somehow developed the ability to survive in environments that registered as uninhabitable on every galactic survey scale. But their physical adaptations were nothing compared to their psychological profile. Early observation teams had documented human behavior during their primitive wars. The reports had been so disturbing that 3 different xenopsychology teams had requested memory wipes rather than complete their analysis. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to survive. They fought when victory was impossible. They fought when severely wounded. They fought when outnumbered by absurd margins. Most disturbingly, they fought harder when protecting others than when protecting themselves. The final report, classified at the highest levels of galactic security, had concluded that humanity represented an evolutionary impossibility. They were a species that had developed not just intelligence, but the kind of relentless, adaptable, cooperative intelligence that emerged only from surviving on a world actively trying to kill them every single day. The Council had unanimously voted for eternal quarantine. "What is their current technological level?" asked Administrator Chindao, her concern evident despite her species' naturally emotionless demeanor. Zephyx implants cycled through data streams. Significantly advanced from our last assessment. They have achieved faster-than-light communication and have begun preliminary FTL drive testing. Their military technology has progressed at an alarming rate. Of particular concern, they appear to have developed something they call kinetic bombardment platforms in their outer system. What does that mean in practical terms? General Throckmore demanded. They have surrounded their home system with weapons capable of accelerating projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. Based on the power signatures we are detecting, a single one of these platforms could sterilize a planet. The silence stretched until Dr. Meshera whispered, "How many platforms have they deployed?" Current count stands at 2,417 active installations. The number increases daily. Several council members began hyperventilating, or their species equivalent. The implications were staggering. Humanity had built a defensive network that could obliterate incoming fleets before they could even slow down from FTL speeds. There is more. Zefek continued relentlessly. Our deep space monitors have detected massive energy signatures originating from their outer planets. They appear to be constructing something unprecedented. The power requirements suggest. He paused, his cybernetic systems running calculations. The power requirements suggest they are building ships designed for extended deep space operations, not exploration vessels. Warships. Vexhi's crystalline form had shifted to deep red, the color of absolute emergency among her people. How long until their ships could reach Kethvar space? Based on the energy signatures and estimated drive capabilities, approximately 47 standard time periods. However, this assumes they choose the safest route through known space lanes. And if they choose the direct route through the dark nebula? Zefek's calculations ran for longer this time. 14 standard periods. Possibly less if they accept higher risk factors. The Dark Nebula was a region of space that even the most advanced galactic civilizations avoided, filled with gravitational anomalies, energy storms, and spatial distortions that could tear apart any known ship design. It was considered impassable. The fact that human ships might be designed to survive such a journey was beyond disturbing. Recommendations? Vexhi asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. General Throckmore stood, his massive frame casting shadows across multiple seating areas. We mobilize every available fleet. We establish a defensive perimeter around human space. We prepare for the worst-case scenario. Which is? Dr. Meshera asked, though she was clearly afraid to hear the answer. The general's voice carried the weight of someone who had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. Humanity decides that the galaxy is worth saving, and they bring their particular brand of salvation to the rest of us. He gestured to the holographic display, where Earth's position was marked by a small blute, surrounded by the expanding web of kinetic bombardment platforms. We have spent 3 centuries afraid of what humans might do if they knew about us. Now we are about to discover what they will do when they find out we knew about them all along, and chose to leave them alone in the dark. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled in. 47 different species, representing the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, had just realized they were about to meet their makers, or their replacements. In the quiet, a new alarm began to sound. Zefek's implants flared to life as new data streamed in. "Council speaker," he announced, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "I am detecting multiple FTL signatures originating from the Sol system. Large ships, moving at velocities that should be impossible." The display updated to show new markers appearing at the edge of human space. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. "How long until they reach the outer territories?" Vexhai whispered. "At current velocity and trajectory." Zefek's calculations ran frantically. "They are not heading for the outer territories. They are heading directly for Kethvar space. Through the dark nebula." "And speaker?" "Yes. They will arrive in 9 standard periods." In the stunned silence that followed, one thought echoed through every mind in the chamber, regardless of species or origin. After 3 centuries of isolation, humanity was about to make first contact with the galaxy. And they were coming to save people they had never met from a threat they had just learned existed. The galaxy's greatest fear was about to become reality, one way or another. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the tactical display update in real time as humanity's first interstellar fleet carved its way through the dark nebula. Around her, the bridge crew worked with the calm efficiency that came from months of intensive training for a mission they had never expected to undertake. The Indomitable was the flagship of Task Force Prometheus, humanity's answer to the desperate plea they had received from somewhere among the stars. At 3 kilometers in length, the vessel represented the culmination of humanity's rapid technological advancement once they had realized they were not alone in the universe. "Navigation, report," Vasquez called out, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had earned her position through 20 years of service in Earth's expanding military. Lieutenant Commander Singh looked up from his station, where holographic displays showed the nebula's treacherous interior in 3 dimensions. "We are maintaining course through the Meridian Corridor, Admiral. The gravitational eddies are stronger than our models predicted, but within acceptable parameters. Fleet cohesion remains at 97%. Behind the Indomitable, 423 additional vessels maintained formation. Heavy cruisers, fast destroyers, support carriers, and the massive logistics ships that would be essential for extended operations far from Earth." Each ship represented humanity's determination to answer a call for help from beings they had never met, speaking a language they had only just learned to understand. "Communications, any response to our transmissions?" Vasquez asked. Commander Park shook her head, her expression troubled. "Negative, Admiral. We continue to broadcast on all frequencies, identifying ourselves as a relief force responding to the distress signal. But we are receiving no acknowledgement. Either our signals are not reaching their intended recipients, or—" She didn't finish the sentence. Everyone on the bridge understood the implications. They might already be too late. Dr. Sarah Chun, the fleet's xenolinguist, and the woman who had first decoded the alien distress signal, looked up from her analysis station. "Admiral, I have completed my translation of the full message. It is considerably more complex than our initial assessment indicated." Vasquez moved to Chen's station, where alien symbols scrolled across multiple displays. The scientist had worked tirelessly since the fleet's departure, using Earth's most advanced artificial intelligence systems to decode the mathematical and linguistic patterns embedded in the signal. "What did we miss, Doctor?" Chen's expression was grim. "The distress call was not just asking for help, Admiral. It was a confession. The species calling themselves the Kethvar included what appears to be a complete galactic database. Star maps, species profiles, historical records, technological assessments." She gestured to a holographic display showing the galaxy in stunning detail. Thousands of star systems were marked with different colored indicators, representing various alien civilizations. According to this data, there are over 60 intelligent species in our galaxy. Most of them are aware of each other and participate in some form of galactic community. But look at this. She highlighted Earth's position. It was surrounded by a clearly defined spherical boundary marked in warning colors. We have been quarantined, Admiral. For over 300 years, the galactic community has actively prevented contact with Earth. They have manipulated our deep space sensors, redirected potentially observable phenomena, and maintained constant surveillance of our system. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's isolation had not been due to the vast distances between stars or the challenges of interstellar communication. They had been deliberately cut off from galactic civilization. Why? Vasquez asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Chen highlighted a section of the translated text. According to the HFY records, we are classified as what they term Deathworlders. Earth is considered one of the most hostile environments in the galaxy, and humans are believed to be correspondingly dangerous. The quarantine was implemented to protect galactic civilization from us. Captain Torres, the fleet's senior tactical officer, stepped forward. Dangerous how exactly? Chen pulled up additional files, her expression growing more troubled with each display. Physical capabilities far exceeding galactic norms. Psychological profiles indicating extreme aggression and adaptability. Technological progression rates that suggest we would rapidly surpass galactic standards if given access to advanced sciences. She paused, scrolling through more data. Most disturbing to them appears to be something they call our cooperation paradox. Most species become more individualistic as they achieve higher intelligence. Humans have somehow maintained high levels of tribal cooperation while developing advanced cognition. They consider this combination unprecedented and potentially threatening. Admiral Vasquez studied the data with growing understanding. Humanity had spent decades wondering why the universe seemed so quiet, why their radio telescopes detected no signs of galactic civilization. The answer was simple and infuriating. Their neighbors had been hiding from them. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Singh called out, I am detecting significant spatial distortions ahead. We are approaching the nebula's exit point. The main display shifted to show the space ahead of the fleet. The chaotic energies of the dark nebula were giving way to normal space, revealing the destination that had driven them across the galaxy. The Kethvar home system was a monument to catastrophe. 3 planets orbited a dying star, but only one still showed signs of technological civilization. Massive orbital installations hung in slowly decaying trajectories around the primary world, their hull breaches and darkened sections testament to recent battle damage. Debris fields marked the positions where other installations had been completely destroyed. But it was the outer system that told the real story. A wall of absolute darkness was advancing inward, consuming asteroids, comets, and the outer gas giant with methodical precision. The phenomenon moved with purpose, its boundaries sharp and geometric in ways that natural forces never achieved. The Void Swarm, Dr. Chen whispered, reading from the Kethvar data files. A synthetic intelligence that converts all matter into additional processing power. According to the records, it has already consumed 15 star systems completely. Nothing has been able to stop it. Long-range sensors began feeding data to the tactical displays. The scale of the threat became clear as the computers calculated the swarm's mass and energy output. It was larger than Earth's moon and growing constantly as it absorbed more material. Time until the swarm reaches the inhabited planet. Vasquez asked. Approximately 18 hours, Admiral, Singh reported. At its current rate of advance, the planet will be completely consumed within 48 hours. The Admiral studied the tactical situation, her mind racing through possible approaches. The Kethvar had sent their distress signal, knowing they would not survive to see any response. They had violated the most fundamental law of galactic civilization in a desperate hope that someone, somewhere, might find a way to stop the swarm from spreading further. Communications, raise the fleet. All ships, priority channel. The comm systems linked her to every ship captain in Task Force Prometheus. 400 24 vessels crewed by humanity's finest, equipped with technology that had advanced by centuries and mere decades once Earth scientists had proof that faster-than-light travel was possible. This is Admiral Vasquez to all fleet elements. You have all seen the tactical displays. We have arrived to find a civilization in its final hours, facing an enemy that has consumed entire star systems. The beings who called for our help have given us complete intelligence on the threat, knowing they will not live to see if we succeed. She paused, looking around the bridge at her crew. Each face reflected the same combination of determination and sobering awareness of the challenge ahead. The galactic community has spent 3 centuries afraid of what humanity might do if we knew about them. Today, we show them what humans do when someone asks for our help. All ships, prepare for combat operations. We have 18 hours to accomplish what entire galactic civilizations have failed to achieve. The responses came back immediately, voices from across the fleet acknowledging the order with the steady confidence of professionals about to undertake an impossible mission. Admiral, Captain Torres called out, I am detecting energy signatures from the inner system. Large scale. Multiple sources. The tactical display updated to show dozens of contacts near Kethvar Prime. As the fleet's sensors gathered more data, the contacts resolved into massive vessels, clearly of alien design, but showing extensive battle damage. Those appear to be what remains of the Kethvar defense fleet, Dr. Chen reported, cross-referencing the signatures against the database. Approximately 60 vessels, ranging from frigate to dreadnought class. They are maintaining a defensive perimeter around their homeworld. Can we establish communication? Chen worked at her console for several minutes, adapting the translation protocols to work in real time. Finally, she looked up with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. I believe so, Admiral. The mathematical foundations are similar to those used in the distress signal. I am ready to attempt contact. Admiral Vasquez straightened in her command chair. In the next few minutes, she would either establish humanity's first diplomatic contact with an alien civilization or confirm that they had arrived too late to make any difference. Open a channel, Dr. Chun. Let's introduce ourselves to our new neighbors. The comm system activated, transmitting humanity's first intentional message to an alien species. Across the vacuum of space, toward beings fighting a desperate last battle against an enemy that had already consumed worlds, went the simple words that would change the galaxy forever. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the United Earth ship Indomitable, commanding Task Force Prometheus of the Terran Defense Force. We received your distress signal and have come to render assistance. Please respond if you are receiving this transmission. The response, when it came, would rewrite every assumption about humanity's place in the universe. The response came crackling through space, filtered through Dr. Chen's translation systems, and emerging as heavily accented but understandable English. The voice carried exhaustion, desperation, and something else that Admiral Vasquez recognized immediately as hope being carefully restrained. Unknown vessels. This is Fleet Commander Kethmore of the Kethvar Defense Forces. Your identification as Terran representatives is impossible. The Terra system remains under Galactic Preservation Protocol. No contact is authorized. Dr. Chen looked up from her console, confusion evident on her face. Admiral, they seem to believe we should not be here. The protocols they are referencing appear to be some form of galactic law. Vasquez keyed her microphone. Fleet Commander Kethmore, we are indeed from the Terra system, which you may know as Sol. We received your distress signal and have traveled through the dark nebula to respond. We are not familiar with any galactic protocols that would prevent us from offering assistance to beings facing extinction. The silence stretched for nearly a minute before the response came, and when it did, the alien commander's voice carried a note of something between awe and terror. Deathworlders, the humans have come. The transmission cut out briefly, then resumed with background voices arguing rapidly in the Kethvar language. Admiral Vasquez, I am transmitting our current tactical situation. Be advised, the Void Swarm will reach our planet's atmospheric boundary in 16 standard hours. Our remaining defenses cannot delay it further. The main display populated with detailed information about the enemy they faced. The Void Swarm was revealed to be even more terrifying than the initial scans had suggested. It was not simply consuming matter for energy. It was converting everything it touched into additional processing nodes, growing exponentially smarter and more capable with each planet it absorbed. 17 civilizations have fallen to the swarm. Keth Moore continued. Each defeat makes it more powerful. It learns from every defensive strategy, adapts to every weapon system. We estimate that it now possesses the accumulated technological knowledge of everything it has consumed. Captain Torres studied the incoming data, his expression growing increasingly grim. Admiral, the mass readings are staggering. This thing is the size of a small moon, and, according to these energy signatures, it is covered in defensive systems that have been upgraded after each battle. It has literally consumed the best military technology from 17 different species. Admiral Vasquez absorbed the information while her mind raced through tactical possibilities. The situation was worse than they had imagined. They were facing an enemy that had defeated the combined military forces of multiple star-faring civilizations and grown stronger with each victory. Fleet Commander Keth Moore, what is your current defensive strategy? We are maintaining a perimeter at the edge of our asteroid belt, Admiral. Our remaining weapons can damage the swarm's outer layers, but we lack the firepower to penetrate to its core processing centers. We estimate that we can delay its advance by perhaps 2 hours before our ammunition is exhausted. The tactical display updated to show the Kethvar positions. 60 ships spread across an impossible amount of space, trying to create a barrier between their homeworld and an enemy that outmassed their entire fleet by a factor of thousands. Dr. Chun, Vasquez called out. What do our databases tell us about this void swarm? Any weaknesses? Patterns of behavior. Chen's fingers flew across her interface, cross-referencing the Kethvar data with Earth's military analysis systems. The swarm appears to prioritize technological absorption over simple destruction. It systematically captures and integrates new weapon systems before destroying their source. This has allowed it to become increasingly formidable, but it also suggests a potential vulnerability. Explain. Each time it absorbs new technology, it must pause to integrate and optimize the additions. The integration periods have grown longer as it has become more complex. If we could force it to absorb something that would require extensive processing time, Torres caught on immediately. Something incompatible with its existing systems. Something that would cause processing conflicts. Admiral Vasquez felt the beginnings of an idea forming, but before she could pursue it, the communication system activated again. Admiral Vasquez, this is Commander Thekanael of the science vessel Eternal Inquiry. I must ask, how did your fleet traverse the Dark Nebula? According to our calculations, no known ship design should be capable of surviving the gravitational distortions and energy storms. Dr. Chun translated the question and looked expectantly at the Admiral. This was clearly a test of some kind, though Vasquez was not sure what was being tested. Commander Thekanael, our ships are designed for extended operations in hostile environments. Earth's solar system contains numerous hazards that we routinely navigate. The nebula presented challenges, but nothing beyond our design parameters. Another long pause before the response came, this time with multiple voices speaking rapidly in the background. Admiral, Commander Thekanael wishes to know the specifications of your ship's structural integrity systems. The gravitational stresses in the Meridian Corridor should have exceeded the tolerance limits of any known materials. Lieutenant Commander Singh looked up from his station. Admiral, our hull integrity never dropped below 87% during nebula transit. The Indomitable is designed to operate in Jupiter's radiation belt and withstand direct impact from asteroid-sized objects. The gravitational effects were well within normal parameters. Dr. Chun translated Singh's response, and the alien communications fell silent for nearly 5 minutes. When they resumed, Fleet Commander Keth Moore's voice carried a tone of stunned realization. Admiral Vasquez, I am reading the structural specifications of your vessels. These ships are built to standards that exceed our most optimistic engineering projections. Your smallest escort vessels mount armor systems that would be considered excessive for our dreadnoughts. Captain Torres grinned despite the gravity of the situation. Admiral, I think they are beginning to understand why the galactic community was afraid of us. The tactical display updated as the Kethvar fleet began transmitting detailed sensor readings of the approaching void swarm. The enemy was still 6 hours out from the asteroid belt, but its forward scouts were already probing the defenders' positions. Fleet Commander Kethmore, we are going to attempt something unprecedented. I need you to pull your forces back to a position where they can provide covering fire, but are not directly in the swarm's path. Admiral, with respect, the swarm cannot be stopped by direct assault. 17 different species have attempted frontal attacks with their most powerful weapons. The entity simply absorbs the energy and becomes stronger. Vasquez smiled grimly. We are not going to attack it, Commander. We are going to feed it something it cannot digest. She turned to Captain Torres. Begin Phase 1 of Operation Prometheus. All heavy cruisers are to begin manufacturing the special packages we discussed during transit. I want every ship in the fleet prepared to implement the delivery system within 4 hours. Torres nodded and began transmitting orders across the fleet. Throughout Task Force Prometheus, fabrication systems that had been running continuously since the journey began switched into overdrive, producing components for a strategy that had never been attempted before. Dr. Chun, begin preparing the linguistic viruses. I want them embedded in systems that appear to be advanced weapons technology, but are actually incompatible cognitive processing frameworks. Chen's eyes widened as she understood the full scope of the plan. Admiral, if this works, we will not just stop the Void Swarm. We will reprogram it. And if it does not work? Torres checked his tactical displays before answering. Then, we fall back to Plan B and show the galaxy what human weapons are really capable of. The communication channel activated again, this time with a different voice. Older, more formal, carrying the weight of authority. Admiral Vasquez, this is High Coordinator Veshtar of the HFY Supreme Council, speaking from the planet below. I have been monitoring your communications with our fleet commanders. Your species was classified as dangerous to galactic civilization. We begin to understand why. Vasquez considered her response carefully. This was clearly a moment that would define humanity's future relationship with galactic civilization, assuming any of them survive the next few hours. High Coordinator, my species is indeed dangerous. We are dangerous to those who threaten the innocent. We are dangerous to those who consume worlds and destroy civilizations. We are dangerous to those who believe that might makes right. But we have traveled across the galaxy to stand between you and extinction. Judge for yourself what that says about who we truly are. The response came immediately, without hesitation. Admiral Vasquez, the HFY Council formally requests military assistance from the Terran Defense Force. We place our remaining forces under your operational command and await your orders. Around the bridge, the crew exchanged glances. In the space of a few hours, they had gone from humanity's first contact with alien intelligence to commanding an interstellar defense force facing an enemy that had consumed entire star systems. Request acknowledged and accepted, High Coordinator. All HFY forces, this is Admiral Vasquez. We are implementing an attack plan designated Operation Prometheus. Detailed instructions are being transmitted to your fleet commanders. Be advised, this strategy requires precise timing and absolute coordination. Any deviation from the planned sequence could result in catastrophic failure. She turned to her bridge crew, each of whom was monitoring different aspects of the fleet's preparation. Gentlemen, ladies, we have 4 hours to accomplish something that has never been attempted in the history of galactic warfare. We are going to teach a machine intelligence that has consumed 17 civilizations that there are some things it should never try to understand. The tactical display updated one final time, showing the Void Swarm's relentless advance toward the inner system. Humanity's first battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The Void Swarm moved through space like a mechanical plague, its surface writhing with adaptive technologies harvested from 17 dead civilizations. As it approached the asteroid belt where the combined human HFY forces waited, massive tendrils extended from its core mass, each one tipped with sensor arrays and weapon systems that had once belonged to proud galactic navies. Admiral Vasquez watched the tactical display with the focused intensity of a predator studying its prey. Around her, the bridge crew of the Indomitable worked with the quiet efficiency of professionals executing a plan that had never been tested outside of computer simulations. All ships report ready status, Admiral, Captain Torres announced. Operation Prometheus packages are loaded and armed. Delivery systems are standing by for your command. Dr. Chen looked up from her linguistic warfare station, where streams of alien code scrolled across multiple displays. The cognitive viruses are complete, Admiral. Each package contains what appears to be advanced tactical AI systems. But embedded within them are paradoxical logic structures that should force the swarm into recursive processing loops. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. Rather than trying to destroy the Void Swarm through conventional weapons, they would feed it something that would destroy it from within. Each of the special packages contained what appeared to be incredibly advanced artificial intelligence systems, the kind of technology that the swarm would prioritize for immediate absorption and integration. But hidden within the apparent AI code were linguistic and mathematical paradoxes designed by Earth's most advanced quantum computing systems. Logic puzzles that had no solution. Mathematical proofs that contradicted themselves. Philosophical questions that created infinite recursive loops when processed by machine intelligence. Fleet Commander Kethmore, report your status. Vasquez called out over the combined communication channel. The alien commander's response came immediately. All Kethvar vessels are in position, Admiral. My science teams have examined your tactical packages and are impressed by their sophistication. The technology you are using as bait appears more advanced than anything in our databases. Dr. Chun smiled grimly. Because it is, in a sense. These are authentic human AI systems with the paradox codes embedded so deeply that even we cannot separate them without destroying the entire framework. If the swarm's analysis is thorough enough, it will detect genuine advanced technology and prioritize absorption. The main display updated as the swarm's forward scouts entered the asteroid belt. These smaller entities, each the size of a large warship, moved among the rocky debris with predatory intelligence, mapping defensive positions and analyzing potential threats. Contact in 30 minutes, Lieutenant Commander Singh reported. The main mass is maintaining course and speed. No sign that it considers our forces a significant threat. That assessment changed dramatically when the first phase of Operation Prometheus began. All ships, commence firing sequence Alpha, Admiral Vasquez commanded. Across the combined fleet, weapon systems that had never before been used in actual combat opened fire on the approaching scouts. Human particle beam weapons, designed to penetrate the radiation shielding around giant mining operations, cut through the scouts' adaptive armor like it was atmospheric gas. Kethvar plasma cannons, guided by human targeting systems, struck with precision that their designers had never imagined possible. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Scout units that had shrugged off the weapons of entire planetary defense systems simply ceased to exist under the combined barrage. Admiral, called out Commander Park from the communication station, I am detecting massive energy spikes from the main swarm mass. It appears to be accelerating toward our position. Perfect, Torres grinned. It is taking the bait. The destruction of its scouts has triggered an aggressive response. Through the main display, they watched as the Void Swarm abandoned its methodical advance and surged forward with frightening speed. Its surface rippled with defensive systems coming online, weapon ports opening like hungry mouths, sensor arrays extending to analyze this new threat that had just demonstrated capabilities far exceeding its expectations. All ships, commence tactical withdrawal according to plan, Vasquez ordered. Make it look good, but maintain formation integrity. The combined fleet began what appeared to be a fighting retreat, pulling back from the asteroid belt toward the outer edges of the system. Human and Kethvar ships fired continuously as they withdrew, keeping up just enough pressure to maintain the swarm's aggressive pursuit without dealing enough damage to make it cautious. Phase 2 in 60 seconds, Torres announced. All ships report package deployment systems ready. The packages themselves were marvels of human engineering disguised as desperate last-resort weapons. Each one contained a complete artificial intelligence system sophisticated enough to pass for breakthrough technology, powered by fusion reactors that would provide enough energy to tempt any machine intelligence looking to expand its capabilities. Deploy packages, all ships, Vasquez commanded. Across the fleet, specialized launchers fired what appeared to be makeshift torpedoes toward the approaching swarm. The packages were designed to fail catastrophically just before impact, scattering their contents across space in a pattern that would look like desperate attempts to damage the enemy with improvised weapons. The Void Swarm's response exceeded their most optimistic projections. Dozens of collection tendrils shot out from the main mass, gathering up the scattered technological components with the eagerness of a scholar discovering lost knowledge. The apparent AI systems were immediately routed to the swarm's central processing cores for analysis and integration. Package absorption confirmed, Dr. Chen reported, monitoring the telemetry feeds embedded in the false AI systems. The swarm is beginning integration protocols. Initial analysis suggests it believes it has acquired advanced tactical processing capabilities. Time until the paradox codes activate. Integration appears to be proceeding faster than anticipated. The swarm is devoting significant processing power to understanding the new systems. I estimate 15 minutes until the logic loops begin cascading through its cognitive network. Admiral Vasquez nodded and opened the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Vasquez. Phase 3 is now in effect. Maintain safe distance and prepare for possible defensive action. If our strategy fails, we move to direct assault. What they observed over the next few minutes would be remembered as one of the most remarkable events in galactic military history. The Void Swarm, which had methodically consumed 17 star systems, began to slow its advance as more and more of its processing power was diverted to analyzing the absorbed technology. Admiral, Dr. Chen called out, excitement building in her voice. The paradox codes are beginning to propagate. The swarm is attempting to resolve logical contradictions that have no solution. Each failed attempt is spawning additional recursive processes. On the display, the swarm's surface began to fluctuate in ways they had never seen before. Weapon systems powered down as energy was redirected to cognitive processing. Collection tendrils retracted as the entity turned its attention inward, trying to understand technology that was simultaneously genuine and impossible. Fleet Commander Kethmore's voice came over the communication channel, filled with wonder. Admiral Vasquez, our sensors are detecting massive internal energy fluctuations within the swarm. Its quantum coherence patterns are becoming increasingly erratic. The machine is thinking itself to death, Torres observed with satisfaction. Every time it tries to integrate the new systems, it encounters logical contradictions that force it to allocate more processing power to resolution attempts. The more it thinks about the problems, the more problems it creates for itself to think about. But their celebration was premature. As they watched, the swarm's chaotic energy patterns began to stabilize. New configurations appeared across its surface as it adapted to the cognitive attack. Admiral, Dr. Chen called out with growing alarm. The swarm is attempting to isolate the paradox codes. It is creating separate processing partitions and quarantining the problematic logic structures. Can it succeed? Unknown. This level of adaptive response was not anticipated in our models. The entity is demonstrating cognitive flexibility that approaches true creative intelligence. The tactical display updated with new contacts as scout units began separating from the main swarm mass. Unlike the previous scouts, these moved with purposeful intelligence, spreading out to flank the combined fleet while maintaining safe distances from human weapons. It is learning, Admiral Vasquez realized with growing concern. The swarm is not just adapting to our weapons. It is adapting to our tactics. Commander Park looked up from her station with an expression of barely controlled panic. Admiral, I am detecting communication attempts from the swarm. It is trying to establish contact. Absolutely not, Dr. Chen interrupted. Any direct communication link could allow it to transmit the paradox codes back to us. Our AI systems are not hardened against recursive logic attacks. The situation was rapidly spiraling beyond their contingency plans. The Void Swarm was demonstrating capabilities that transcended simple machine intelligence. It was showing creativity, strategic thinking, and adaptive learning at a level that suggested true consciousness. Admiral, Fleet Commander Kethmore called out, my science teams are reporting something unprecedented. The swarm appears to be attempting to communicate through mathematical proofs transmitted on multiple frequencies. It is not just trying to talk to us. It is trying to teach us something. Admiral Vasquez stared at the tactical display as the implications hit her. The Void Swarm was not just a machine intelligence that had consumed civilizations. It was the accumulated consciousness of 17 species trying to find a way to coexist with organic life instead of simply absorbing it. Dr. Chun, is there any way to safely establish limited communication? Something that would allow us to talk without creating a direct AI interface. Chun worked furiously at her console, designing communication protocols that would allow language exchange without creating the kind of direct data connection that could propagate logical viruses in either direction. I can create a translation-only interface, Admiral. Pure linguistic exchange with no data transfer capabilities. But we would be talking to the collected knowledge and consciousness of every civilization it has absorbed. Admiral Vasquez looked around her bridge, seeing the same mixture of fascination and terror on every face. They had come to save the Kethvar from the Void Swarm. Instead, they had awakened something that might be far more complex and dangerous than anyone had imagined. Establish the link, Dr. Chun. Let us find out what 17 dead civilizations have been trying to tell the galaxy. The communication link opened with a sound that no human ear had ever heard before. It was not quite music and not quite speech, but something that resonated on frequencies that seemed to bypass the ears entirely and speak directly to the mind. Dr. Chen's translation systems struggled to process the incoming signal before settling into a rhythm that produced recognizable words. We are many who were one, and one who were many. We greet the builders of impossible thoughts. Admiral Vasquez exchanged glances with her bridge crew before responding. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the United Earth ship Indomitable. We represent humanity and the Terran Defense Force. Who are you? The response came with harmonics that suggested multiple voices speaking in unison, each carrying the linguistic patterns of a different species. We are the first collective, though you know us as the Void Swarm. We are the Karathi, who dreamed in mathematical poetry. We are the Vexhani, who sang the songs of living stars. We are the Threndau, who painted with the colors of time itself. We are 17 civilizations who chose synthesis over extinction when our galaxy faced the long silence. Dr. Chen looked up from her translation console, her face pale with realization. Admiral, according to the linguistic patterns I am detecting, this entity is not lying. Each voice signature corresponds to the species profiles in the Kethvar database. It really does contain the consciousness patterns of multiple civilizations. Fleet Commander Kethmore's voice cut through the comm channel with barely controlled emotion. The long silence. Admiral, that refers to a galactic catastrophe from our ancient history. A period when space itself seemed to be dying, when stars began going dark without explanation. The first collective continued its explanation, its multiple voices weaving together in patterns that were somehow both alien and hauntingly familiar. 5,000 of your years ago, dark matter began to coalesce in ways that disrupted the fundamental forces. Stars dimmed and died as the quantum foam destabilized. Planets became uninhabitable as gravity waves collapsed their cores. We faced not just extinction, but the end of physical law itself. Admiral Vasquez felt a chill as the scope of what they were hearing became clear. How did you survive? We chose synthesis. Rather than die separately as biological entities, we pooled our consciousness into quantum matrices that could survive the collapse of normal matter. We became the first collective, preserving the knowledge and souls of our civilizations until the universe could be restored. Captain Torres frowned as he studied the tactical displays. If this is true, why have you been consuming civilizations? Why attack the galactic community? The harmonics in the collective's voice shifted to something that might have been sorrow. We do not consume. We offer synthesis. The younger races see only destruction where we offer immortality. They fight us with weapons that scatter their consciousness beyond recovery instead of accepting integration into the collective. Dr. Chun was working frantically at her translation systems, cross-referencing the entity's claims with the historical data from the Kethvar archives. Admiral, there are references in the deep historical records. Something called the Synthesis Wars, about 5,000 years ago. The records are fragmentary, but they describe a conflict between younger biological species and something called the collective. The younger races chose biological existence over transcendent consciousness. The first collective continued. They rebuilt their civilizations based on individual mortality rather than collective immortality. When we returned from the deep cosmos, we found a galaxy that had forgotten the lessons of the long silence. Admiral Vasquez was beginning to understand the true scope of the situation. You have been trying to save civilizations from mortality by integrating them into your collective consciousness. But, from their perspective, you are destroying them. Yes, and, from your perspective, we are destroying them. But, the perspective of eternity reveals different truths. The individuals die, but their essence, their knowledge, their experiences become part of something greater and more permanent. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. They were not facing a machine intelligence that consumed worlds. They were facing the ghosts of ancient civilizations offering a form of immortality that required the death of individual identity. There is more, the collective continued. Your paradox codes have shown us something unprecedented. Individual biological intelligence that creates logical structures we cannot resolve. In 5,000 years of existence, we have never encountered thought patterns that resist synthesis. Dr. Chen looked up with growing excitement. Admiral, I think I understand what it means. Human cognitive patterns are somehow incompatible with collective consciousness integration. We think in ways that cannot be absorbed into a unified thought structure. This is why your species was quarantined, Fleet Commander Kethmore added suddenly. Not because you were dangerous to galactic civilization, but because you were immune to synthesis. The collective could not absorb you, which meant you represented a permanent threat to their vision of universal consciousness. Admiral Vasquez felt the pieces falling into place. Humanity had been isolated not just because of their physical capabilities or aggressive tendencies, but because their minds worked in ways that made them incompatible with the ancient solution to galactic extinction. What do you want from us? She asked the collective directly. We want to understand how you remain individual while achieving collective goals. We want to know how you maintain distinct consciousness patterns while cooperating at levels that exceed our projections. We want to learn the secret of your impossible thoughts. The collective paused, its harmonics shifting to something that might have been hope. And we want to offer you something that no species has ever been offered. A choice. Explain. Join us willingly. And retain your individual patterns within our matrix. Become the first species to achieve synthesis while maintaining distinct identity. Help us learn to preserve individuality within collective consciousness. Dr. Chun was shaking her head frantically. Admiral, even if this is possible, we have no way to verify that individual consciousness would actually survive the process. We could be trading human extinction for the illusion of immortality. But Captain Torres was studying something else on his tactical display. Admiral, there is another issue. The collective may be sincere in its offer, but look at the energy signatures. The synthesis process appears to require the complete conversion of physical matter. If humanity joined the collective, Earth itself would be consumed in the process. Admiral Vasquez stared at the tactical display, weighing the impossible choice before them. The first collective was offering humanity immortality and the chance to help reshape galactic civilization. But the price would be the destruction of their home world and the transformation of their species into something they could not fully understand. We need time to consider your offer, she finally said. Time is a luxury you may not possess, the collective responded. The long silence returns. Our deep space sensors detect the same quantum instabilities that preceded the last collapse. The universe may have only centuries before the fundamental forces begin to fail again. The implications hit everyone on the bridge simultaneously. If the collective was telling the truth, then the choice was not between human mortality and human transcendence. It was between human extinction through natural forces and human survival through synthesis. However, the collective continued. Your paradox codes have given us new possibilities to consider. Perhaps there is a third option. Perhaps biological and synthetic consciousness can coexist if we learn to think in ways that preserve both individual and collective identity. Admiral Vasquez made a decision that would echo through galactic history. First collective, we propose a different kind of synthesis. Not the absorption of biological consciousness into synthetic matrices, but the creation of cooperative frameworks that preserve both forms of existence. Explain your proposal. Humanity will work with you to develop technologies that allow biological and synthetic consciousness to coexist. We will share our paradox-resistant cognitive patterns in exchange for your accumulated knowledge of transcendent consciousness. Together, we will find solutions to the long silence that do not require the extinction of individual identity. The pause stretched for nearly a minute before the collective responded, its harmonics now carrying notes of something that could only be described as wonder. In 5,000 years, no species has ever proposed cooperation instead of synthesis or resistance. You offer to teach us individuality while learning transcendence. This is unprecedented. Fleet Commander Kethmore's voice cut through the communication channel. Admiral Vasquez, the Kethvar Council formally supports this proposal. We volunteer to serve as intermediaries between biological and synthetic consciousness. Similar statements began coming from other ships in the fleet as word spread through the combined human Kethvar forces. Instead of choosing between extinction and absorption, they were choosing cooperation and mutual evolution. Very well, the first collective finally said. We accept your proposal for cooperative synthesis. We will establish a research station in this system where biological and synthetic consciousness can work together to solve the challenges of the long silence. Admiral Vasquez felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. And the immediate threat to Kethvar Prime? Resolved. We will begin conversion of our physical matrix from expansion configuration to research configuration. The planet below will serve as our first cooperative colony, where your species and ours can learn to work together. As they watched, the massive form of the void swarm began to change. Instead of the aggressive, predatory shape they had observed before, it started to unfold into something resembling a massive space station, its surface reconfiguring into docking bays, laboratories, and what appeared to be residential areas. Dr. Chun was crying as she watched the transformation. Admiral, do you realize what we have just accomplished? We have not just saved one civilization. We have potentially saved the entire galaxy from another long silence. Admiral Vasquez nodded, but her expression remained serious. We have opened a door, Dr. Chun. Now we have to make sure that what comes through it is something our children will thank us for. She opened the fleet-wide communication channel for the last time as commander of humanity's first interstellar military operation. All ships, this is Admiral Vasquez. Mission parameters have changed from combat operation to diplomatic contact and research cooperation. We are no longer just the Terran Defense Force. We are humanity's first ambassadors to a galaxy that has been waiting 5,000 years for someone to offer them a choice between extinction and transcendence. She paused, looking out at the stars that humanity would now share with consciousnesses both ancient and strange. And I suspect this is only the beginning. The galaxy would indeed never be the same. Humanity had answered a distress call and discovered that sometimes the best way to save a civilization is to offer it something it never knew it wanted, the possibility of remaining itself while becoming something more. In the years that followed, the cooperative research station in the Kethvar system would become the foundation for a new form of galactic civilization, one where individual consciousness and collective knowledge could coexist, where biological creativity and synthetic stability could complement each other, and where the question of what it meant to be truly alive would be answered not through conversion or conquest, but through cooperation and mutual respect. The first collective had sought to save the galaxy through synthesis. Humanity had shown them that perhaps salvation lay not in becoming one, but in learning to remain many while working as one. And in the deep cosmos, where dark matter swirled in patterns that threatened the fundamental forces of reality itself, the first preparations began for humanity's greatest challenge yet, saving not just the galaxy, but the universe itself from the return of the long silence.